and above.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was just going to say, could we illustrate this in a way, and I say illustrate, just kind of get a mental picture in our mind, as something, a mixing bowl, and you shine a light into the glass mixing bowl, and you see the reflection of the light, so that almost looks like it is a point source of light, and you can move it around. So kind of what you are saying with this is that as you're seeing, you have this kind of like focal point where all of the information, all the light that's being received, is being kind of drawn forward to that focal point that you have within your own, and being drawn specifically to this point. Similarly, that we have what appears to be a second source of light on a glass bowl, something similar to
Something like
that.
yes. Check in
Okay.
the live chat. Maybe that will explain what I'm also. Maybe that is what you're trying to explain to me that I'm maybe not understanding. Do you see that picture with the water and the house above? And then there's yeah. So, for instance, we're in a medium now that's seeing this sort of magnification in the water, and you see those poles are there. And above that, we got a different amount of water. There's still water in the air, which is creating some sort of magnification. This is a real basic example now, but the poles aren't lining up to in the water. Even though there's a wave in the water, I'm not too worried about that. You can go test it yourself in a swimming pool if you have to. They don't line up exactly. You can actually dive underneath the water and you can look up. Everything is distorted after that. So it's because there's two different focal points in there. So I'm saying you seeing where this water and the air are meeting, that's that next focal point that we're zooming in on. I'm looking now from bottom up, under the water, for instance. So on that picture, what I'm showing there is, for instance, those two mediums are meeting at that point, which is creating distortion. Is what, if you look at the desert on the right, you see that distortion. Now that is where the two mediums differ, and now we're seeing everything above in a different. Now we're seeing it magnified. It's not actually in the same medium that you're in, and that's why it's in a different location.
Yeah, I'm getting what you're saying, but I would use this picture and almost equate it the kind of the opposite way. When you're looking out towards the further atmosphere, I feel like the stuff that's in the water here is magnified, and the stuff that's in the air isn't magnified as much.
Yes.
But when you're viewing stuff in reality, you're kind of viewing it the opposite direction, meaning you're starting to go through this. As you focus out further, you're focusing through more and more of the atmosphere, so you get more slight magnification. You get to that focal point, and then everything behind that is kind of magnified a little bit forward, distorted, slightly off, kind of the same way that if
that
you're
is
in
correct.
the air here. Yeah, that makes sense. We don't obviously have a hard, fast barrier between two mediums like you have here with the air and the water, but it's a similar type effect.
Yes, so I'm not calling that specifically a physical piece of material that's between the two. I'm saying that that's actually where the focus is. That's where there's that focus point, and the camera is even picking it up. Why is the camera even picking up that focus point is my argument. So there is some sort of focus point, which means something is getting in focus and it's being magnified, and that's why we're able to see it. Otherwise it'll just be a haze. And then what did I also wanted to say about that? Oh no, don't worry, the other thing will come to me now. But that's why we seeing that. That's what I'm saying. Oh yeah. So as if there's more water in outer atmosphere, you'll notice that specific spot where the focal point starts is at different lengths away from you, and that's due to atmospheric pressure, and then that's why the focal point will change, like a big telescope. If you're trying to focus in on something, it's got to go forward, backwards, forward, backwards. Okay, there's where the focus point is.
Yeah, and this kind of makes sense that when you're dealing with lenses and cameras or binoculars or something like that, you get to if you notice on most of them, You'll see as you're focusing, it'll give you focal lengths, and then a lot of them will just have an infinity symbol at some point where it's like infinity focus. It's almost like that range becomes infinite because everything's drawn forward to a specific focal point.
Yo, my
Does that make
focus is
sense?
infinite, yo.
I don't really understand, to be honest.
So like the moon, for instance, right? If we were actually going to focus in on something that's 239,000 miles away, why is my focal length that I'm adjusting on my binoculars or my camera the same as the focal length that I would need for an object that's on my horizon, which I know is, roughly, let's say 15 miles away? Why is my focal range for something 15 miles away the same as it is for something that's allegedly 239,000 miles away? It's kind of
That visual spot, depending on the thickness of that atmosphere, zoom length to make it in focus.